Hi everyone, and welcome to The Sleepy Scientist. I'm really happy you're here. Tonight, we're going to go on a calm and quiet trip to learn something amazing. So get comfy, take a deep breath, and let's enjoy this peaceful science story together. Before we start, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from and what time is it for you right now? If you like relaxing science videos, don't forget to tap the like button. Now let's begin.
Long ago, before clocks ticked and calendars turned, the earth danced in soft silence, cradled by skies and stirred by the moonlight above. Even then, the oceans listened. Even then, they moved. Now imagine the ocean not as a thing but as a breath, rising and falling, resting and waking. A long exhale stretched across the planet's edge, a slow inhale drawn back into its body. This breath, gentle and vast, is called the tide, and the moon, quiet and silver, distant and low, holds the rhythm. High above, the moon glides softly through the night, and though it seems silent, it speaks in gravity. Gravity is not a sound, but a feeling, a gentle pull, a thread that tugs at every wave, every droplet. And though the moon is far, its pull is steady and sure, as if reaching through space with invisible fingers stroking the seas. The earth is not still. It spins slowly and constantly like a lullaby. As it turns, the moon pulls at it from the side, stretching the oceans ever so slightly, drawing them into a soft, swollen bulge. This bulge, this gentle swell of sea, becomes the high tide, and on the other side of the planet, something magical happens. There too the ocean rises. Two tides, lifted like twin sighs, drawn out by the same unseen hand. Why two? That's the mystery, that's the wonder. One tide reaches toward the moon, pulled by its gravity. The other tide, on the far side of the world, is left behind as the earth is drawn slightly toward the moon, leaving its ocean to lag behind, rising up like a goodbye wave. It's not easy to see, but the sea feels everything, and it responds. The earth, wrapped in its blue robe of water, turns beneath the moon's steady gaze. As it spins, the tides move too. Every day, the waves crawl gently up the shores and retreat again, not because they wish to leave, but because they are called. The moon calls, the earth answers. Now imagine you are on a beach, barefoot and listening. The sun has just slipped below the horizon and the moon is rising, pale and full. You hear the hush of waves, a slow, steady whisper. It isn't just water meeting sand. It's the moon speaking to the sea and the sea answering with motion. But there is more than just the moon. The sun, too, plays a quiet part. Its gravity, though more distant, is vast and powerful. When the sun and moon align during full moons and new moons, their pulls combine and the tides grow stronger. These are called spring tides, not for the season, but for the way the water springs higher and lower, pushed and pulled more deeply. And when the sun and moon are at right angles, their forces soften and the tides become gentler. These are neap tides, softer, quieter, as if the ocean is pausing to rest. It's not only the pull, but the pause that shapes the sea. Tides are not just waves, they are rhythms, long and slow. They move not with wind, but with time, with moonlight, with the turning of the earth beneath a cosmic hand. In bays and coves, the water dances differently. The land shapes its rise and fall, amplifying its music. In some places, the tide rushes in with urgency, galloping over the shore. In others, it creeps like a whisper, slow and shy. The moon pulls them all, but the earth chooses how to answer. Still, wherever you stand, the pull is there. Beneath boats and whales, under bridges and kelp forests. The tides are not just motion, they are memory. Ancient and soft, they carry the history of 1,000 moons etched into every grain of salt. People once watched the tides to know when to fish, when to plant, when to rest. The moon was their clock, the sea was their calendar. Even now, deep inside us, something listens. We are, after all, mostly water. Perhaps a part of us still rises when the moon is full. So as you rest, think of the ocean. Think of how the moon, in all its softness, moves worlds, not with hands or sound, but with a whisper. And the ocean, vast and wild, listens like a child. That's how the moon moves the tides, not with command but with care. Beneath the moon's gentle gaze, the tides do more than move, they shape. Coastlines curve because of them. Sandbars rise and vanish. Estuaries breathe in salt and out fresh. Every rise and fall redraws the edges of the world quietly, constantly. Let's drift deeper now into the secret places where the sea meets the land and time becomes liquid. In the tide pools, life waits patiently for the moon's return. Little anemones close their soft arms when the water leaves, curling like sleepers in the cold. Crabs hide in shadows. Starfish cling with slow purpose. They know the rhythm, they trust it. The moon always comes back. Tidal creatures live in two worlds, wet and dry, sea and air. They are sculpted by the rhythm of rising and falling. Their lives are tuned like songs to the soft pull of the moon. Barnacles open only when the tide returns. Tiny snails move only when the sea embraces them. These creatures do not need clocks. They know the hour by the whisper of salt. And far below in the dark, the deep ocean hears the pull too. The tides reach down into the abyss, brushing even the coldest trenches with their touch. Great rivers of water flow through the ocean, not just on top but within, driven by tides and temperature and the turning of the earth. These underwater rivers, called tidal currents, swirl and mix and carry life from shore to shore in silence. Tides are not just vertical, they are horizontal too. They move across the planet like slow waves of breath. In the narrow spaces between islands, the water rushes like wind through a canyon, stirred by gravity's call. The moon moves and the sea answers, not just up and down, but side to side, around and around, in patterns that trace the shape of the earth itself. This movement brings more than water. It brings nutrients, oxygen, warmth. It feeds coral reefs, stirs plankton into bloom, carries fish to spawning grounds. The moon, in its quiet orbit, feeds the world with every pass, and the world responds in bloom. In mangrove forests, the tides wash salt from roots and bring food to crabs that scuttle between the trees. In the Arctic, the moon's pull helps crack the ice just enough to let seals breathe. In warm lagoons, turtles wait for the tide to rise before they come ashore. Their eggs, hidden in sand, rely on timing that echoes the moon. Life trusts this rhythm. Even on land, the ocean's breath is felt. The tides create breezes along the shore. They shape the patterns of weather. They pull at the edge of rivers far from the sea. Some rivers flow both ways, forward then backward, depending on the moon. It is not always visible, but it is always there. The earth, the moon, the ocean, all turning together in soft accord. Long ago, before telescopes and satellites, people still knew this. They watched the moon not just for light, but for guidance. Farmers planted crops by the phase of the moon. Sailors read the tide like a book. Poets whispered of its pull. And even now, we measure tides in numbers and charts, but still, we feel them in stories and sleep. Our own bodies echo the sea, our blood salty as waves, our hearts beating in rhythm. Some believe our moods shift with the moon, that we are calmer when it wanes, more open when it's full. Science still wonders about this. Some studies say yes, others say perhaps, but there is no doubt that we are moved by rhythm, and the moon is a master of rhythm. Sleep itself may follow its curve. Some researchers have found that we sleep differently when the moon is bright, that our dreams are touched by its light. Perhaps that's why we feel a certain quietness when we see it rise, as if some ancient memory wakes in us, a memory made of water and waiting. The moon is not loud, it does not command, it suggests, it invites, it waits, and in its waiting the world moves, not fast but faithfully. Now imagine standing at the water's edge again. The tide has gone out, the sea is hushed. In the wet sand, little bubbles rise at tiny breaths from creatures below. You kneel and see small trails winding like soft writing. The story of the sea is written here, line by line, by the hands of moonlight and tide. And above you, the moon continues its path, not rushing, not stalling, just going, like always, like forever. Its light brushes the world, and the world changes shape in response, not because it must, but because it can. That's the gift of gravity, not just a force, but a conversation, a dance, a trust. The moon pulls and the water moves, the earth turns and the ocean follows, and in that soft exchange, a planet breathes. The tide is not just science. It is not only measurement. It is emotion, repetition, memory. The sigh of the sea, the call of the moon, you don't need to see it to believe it. You only need to feel it in your chest, in your breath, in the space between thoughts. For what is a tide if not the world's way of remembering that everything is connected? That distance doesn't stop affection. That something as small as a silver circle in the sky can shape something as vast as the ocean, simply by being near. So let your thoughts drift with the tide. Let them rise and fall like water under stars. Let them wander out to the moon and return full as if carried on the sea. Because when the moon moves the tides, it also moves us. The story of the tides is not only about water, not only about the moon. It is about time itself. Every rising wave, every retreating shore marks the passing of hours in a language older than clocks. Before people carved stone into sundials, before sand slipped through hourglasses, the sea was already keeping time with the moon. Let us wander now into this ancient clockwork. Imagine the earth turning slowly, cradled in its orbit around the sun. The moon circles it with patient grace. Together they weave a rhythm, a balance, a steady cycle. 2 high tides and 2 low tides almost. Every day written into the ocean's breath. This is the oldest metronome of life, soft and certain. For millions of years, creatures have lived by it. Horseshoe crabs climb the beaches only when the tides are right, their shells glinting like old coins in moonlight. Clams bury themselves deeper as the waters fall. Even corals release their eggs and sperm into the waves on nights chosen by the moon, as if listening for its signal. Life trusts the lunar clock because it has never failed. The tides are not perfect. They are pulled not only by the moon, but by the tilt of Earth's axis, the shape of continents, the depth of seas. Yet imperfection does not weaken the rhythm. It makes it richer, more complex, like a song with many voices. The Atlantic sings differently from the Pacific. The Bay of Fundy, with its tall cliffs, swells with tides higher than a house. Other shores move more quietly, as if whispering instead of shouting. Everywhere the tune is the same, but the melody changes. Now picture the moon long ago, closer to Earth than it is now. Its pull was stronger then. Tides were higher, wilder, faster. Over eons, the moon drifted slowly away, inch by inch, like a dancer stepping back. The tides softened, slowed, stretched. Even now, the moon continues to drift, about 4 centimeters each year. One day, far in the future, the tides will be different again, calmer, quieter. The dance will change, but the dance will not end. Humans, too, are shaped by this rhythm. We have built harbors to welcome the tide, mills to grind grain with its rise and fall, ships to sail upon its strength. In places where the tide rushes with power, people harness it for energy, letting the moon turn turbines, light lamps, warm homes. The moon, without trying, fuels our world. Yet beyond use there is meaning. The tide is a reminder of patience. It comes, it goes, it returns. No wave is permanent, but none is lost. The sea always remembers the way back. In this, it mirrors our own lives, our moments of fullness, our times of retreat. We too rise and fall. We too are called and carried by forces unseen. The moon itself, pale and constant, has been a companion to all who have ever lived. Ancient poets sang of it, sailors charted by it, lovers swore beneath it. And though science explains its pull in equations, it does not erase the wonder. To know why the tides move is not to lose their magic. It is to see that magic lies in truth itself. On a quiet night standing at the edge of the sea, you may feel it. The sand cool beneath your feet, the waves touching your ankles then slipping away. You know they will return. You know the moon is watching, pulling, guiding. There is comfort in that certainty, a softness in its inevitability. The tide does not ask you to hurry. It invites you to breathe with it, to rest in its rhythm. Think of the children building castles on the shore. They pile sand with laughter, knowing the tide will come and wash it away. But they do not cry. They build again tomorrow and tomorrow, trusting the sea's return. The tide teaches them impermanence, and with it, peace. What is washed away is not lost. It is part of a larger cycle, a deeper story. Think of the fishermen rising before dawn, watching the moon, reading the tide charts. Their lives depend on listening to the pull. Yet in that listening, they find harmony with forces far beyond them. Their boats move not only on water, but on trust that the moon will keep its promise. And think of yourself lying in the stillness of night. The world outside quiets. Within you, your breath rises and falls. Perhaps you notice that it feels like the tide, slow, gentle, eternal. In that moment, you are the ocean. You are the rhythm. The moon is moving you too softly, without effort. When we speak of tides, we speak of balance. Between earth and moon, ocean and shore, gravity and time, this balance is fragile yet enduring. It holds not just the sea, but the memory of connection. It reminds us that distance does not mean separation. The moon is far, yet it moves us. Perhaps love works the same way. Perhaps memory too. Now the tide is high again, pressing against the shore. Soon it will slip back, leaving sand wet and shining. But even in retreat, it is not gone. It is simply waiting, turning, returning. Like the moon, like the earth, like all things in motion, it continues. It continues. So let us close this story as the sea closes the shore, gently, completely, with promise. The moon moves the tides, but more than that, it teaches us how to move, with patience, with rhythm, with quiet grace. It shows us how to rise, how to fall, and how to return always to the beginning. And as you rest now, carried on this rhythm, may you feel the soft gravity of calm. May you hear in the hush of your own breath the whisper of waves, the echo of the moon's pull. The ocean listens, and so do you. This is how the moon moves the tides, not with force, but with faith, with a touch that is light yet eternal. The ocean is not only a body of water, it is a mirror, a canvas that holds the reflection of the sky. Every dawn it blushes with sunrise, every dusk it sighs with twilight, and through the long dark hours of night it follows the stars above, rippling softly under the path of the moon. To look at the sea is to see the sky twice, once above you, once below. But the connection is not just reflection. The ocean listens to the sky's breath, to its winds, its storms, its warmth, its light. The two are woven together like threads of one great fabric. One cannot move without the other stirring. When clouds gather, the sea answers. When the sun burns brighter, the ocean stirs from its depths. When the moon drifts across the heavens, the tides rise and bow in turn. The ocean follows the sky because they are never truly apart. Consider the sun pouring its light across the earth. That light warms the air, warms the water. Warm water rises, cold water sinks, and great currents are born. These currents are like the hidden veins of the planet, moving quietly, carrying life, carrying heat. Without the sky's touch, the ocean would be still, silent, breathless. But with it, the ocean breathes. It carries storms, shapes weather, paints patterns on the world itself. Now imagine standing at the edge of the sea as clouds drift overhead. The wind changes, gentle at first, then stronger. The surface of the water quivers, responding like skin touched by fingers. Small waves gather, racing across the surface. The sky has whispered and the ocean has heard. The ocean always hears. From the smallest ripple to the greatest wave, from the soft tide to the roaring storm surge, the ocean is moved by the sky. Hurricanes spin because the sea feeds them, yet the sea stirs because the sky breathes fire upon it. Together they rise and fall, neither master, neither servant, always entwined. The sky may stretch high above, untouchable, yet the ocean feels every sigh, every shiver of its moods. There is another kind of listening, deeper, slower. It comes not from storms or winds, but from time itself. Over long ages, the earth tilts and turns, the angle of sunlight changes, seasons drift, the ocean answers with its own cycles, warming, cooling, rising, falling. The ice melts, the seas swell, the winds change again. It is not a conversation of minutes, but of centuries. And yet it is a conversation carried patiently, faithfully between sky and sea. If you close your eyes, you might hear it, the way the waves echo the winds, the way the tides mirror the moon. The sky sings softly and the ocean hums below, carrying the note. It is the planet's oldest duet, a harmony between air and water. And life lives within that song. Birds follow wind currents across the sky, while fish follow ocean currents below. Plankton rise and fall in daily dances, guided by the light of the sun and moon. Even we, standing on the shore, are caught between these two vast realms, breathing the air, drinking the water carried by both. There is poetry in this connection. To see the Milky Way stretch across the night and its reflection trembling in dark waves. To watch lightning split the sky and see it mirrored in 1,000 silver shards on the ocean's surface. To wake at dawn and find the sea painted with the softest pinks and golds, as if it had been waiting all night for the sky to return. In every moment, the ocean follows the sky faithfully, tenderly, like a child shadowing a parent. The science of it is as beautiful as the sight. Winds arise because of differences in heat, in pressure. Those winds stir the waves. The sun warms the equator more than the poles, setting great circulations in motion. These circulations pull water across the world, from Pacific to Atlantic, Arctic to Antarctic. The ocean, though vast, is never still. It is always following, always listening to the signals above. The moon joins this great dance, as it always does. Its gravity pulls the water not only up and down, but in subtle sways, changing currents, tilting balances. The moon's orbit and the sun's warmth together shape the heartbeat of the sea. And so, though the ocean lies below and the sky spreads above, they are not separate. They are halves of one circle, one breath, one endless rhythm. When you walk along the shore at twilight, notice how the horizon disappears. The ocean and sky blend, both painted in fading light. In that moment, you cannot tell where one ends and the other begins. That is their secret. They were never meant to be apart. One shapes, the other responds. One breathes, the other sighs. Together, they are the living skin of the earth. To know this is not only to understand science, but to feel wonder. It is to recognize that the sea you see is not only water, but the memory of sky. Every wave carries wind. Every tide carries moonlight. Every current carries sun. The ocean is the sky's ref. Lection its echo, its partner in an eternal dance. And as the stars appear one by one, mirrored in the water below, you see the truth. The ocean follows the sky not because it must, but because it belongs to it. As breath belongs to body, as shadow belongs to light. Let us move deeper now, away from the shimmering surface and into the vast interior of the sea, where the influence of the sky is quieter but no less profound. Here in the hidden depths, light barely reaches, yet the sun above still shapes everything. Its warmth drives winds, and the winds stir currents that dive downward, carrying energy across whole oceans. The sky's breath travels all the way into the dark, unseen places where strange creatures drift, suspended between silence and time. These currents are sometimes called the Great Conveyor Belt of the Earth, because they circle the planet in slow, powerful loops. Warm water flows from the equator toward the poles, while cold water sinks and flows back again. It is a cycle that takes hundreds of years to complete, a journey of patience and persistence. And what begins with the sun's uneven warmth becomes the living heartbeat of the ocean. Without the sky's gentle inequality, the ocean would be still. With it, the ocean moves forever, carrying life and memory. The creatures of the deep follow this cycle too. Some rise at night when the sky is dark, ascending to feed on plankton stirred by moonlight. Then before dawn, they sink back into the safety of the deep. This migration is the largest on Earth, measured not in distance but in sheer numbers, billions of tiny lives rising and falling each day, guided by the sky's rhythm above. Even in the darkness of the abyss, the ocean still follows the sky. But it is not only biology and movement, it is also color, mood, and emotion. The sky paints the ocean each day in its own language. When the sun rises, the sea glows with gold. When storm clouds gather, the sea deepens to slate. At sunset, water holds the last fire of the day, crimson and purple stretched thin across waves. These colors are not only reflections, but exchanges, gifts from sky to sea. The ocean takes the sky's light and softens it, spreading it across the earth in ways no mirror ever could. And the sky in return takes from the ocean. The surface of the sea releases vapor, rising invisibly to form clouds. These clouds drift and gather, shading the land, watering the forests, filling rivers that return to the sea again. It is a cycle so complete that to speak of the ocean and sky as separate is to miss their truth. The water you see as rain may once have drifted as mist from a wave 1,000 miles away. The ocean follows the sky, and the sky carries the ocean. Together they shape the climate, the air, the seasons of the world. There are places where this connection is written clearly, almost like poetry carved into the earth. In monsoon lands, the sky breathes heavy with water carried from distant seas. It releases in torrents, and the ocean swells in gratitude. In polar regions, the sea is bound in ice, reflecting the sky's pale silence. When the ice melts, the balance changes, the air shifts, and the world listens. In deserts, where little rain falls, the air still holds whispers of ocean far away. Even in the driest sand, there is the memory of waves. The tides themselves, guided by moon and sun, are the most visible proof of this bond. You see them each day rolling in and out, but behind that gentle rhythm is a story of celestial forces working together. The moon pulls with steady patience. The sun adds its voice, sometimes amplifying, sometimes softening. The ocean becomes a living record of this dialogue. Where the sky is quiet, the sea is calm. Where the sky is restless, the sea stirs. Always the ocean follows. Now picture a storm forming far out at sea. Warm air rises, cool air sinks, winds twist into spirals. The ocean feeds it with vapor, and the storm grows, stretching high into the atmosphere. What begins as a small stir of wind becomes a towering system, with waves that crash against distant shores. Yet even here, the sky and ocean are partners, not rivals. The storm feeds from both, and when it passes, both are changed. The sea has given its strength, the sky has given its motion. Together, they create something both destructive and beautiful, a reminder of their power and intimacy. But storms are only one note in the long song. There are gentler exchanges, too. The morning mist that lingers above calm water, the way moonlight softens waves into silver threads, the delicate glimmer of starlight scattered like jewels across the sea. Each is a reminder that the ocean does not move alone. It moves with the sky, with every breath, every flicker of light, every shadow of cloud. Life on land depends on this harmony. The sky brings rain, but the ocean provides the water. The sky shapes winds, but the ocean gives them moisture. The balance keeps forests green, yields fertile, rivers flowing. Without it, the earth would be barren, silent, and still. It is a balance so subtle that we often forget it is there. Yet it holds us with the same quiet strength the moon holds the tide. In the stillness of evening, when the horizon glows faintly with the last of the sun, you might notice how your breath matches the rhythm of the waves. In and out, rise and fall. You are part of this pattern too. The air you breathe has passed through ocean waves, carried into the sky and back again. Each breath is a gift from the sea, shaped by the sky. We are not outside this dance, we are within it, carried along like plankton, like clouds, like tides. So when you stand on the shore and look out at the vast blue, remember that you are seeing more than water. You are seeing time, memory, and connection. You are seeing the hand of the sky laid gently upon the sea. You are seeing two vast bodies breathing together, one above, one below, yet never apart. The ocean follows the sky not out of duty, but out of kinship. One cannot be without the other. They are two halves of the same whole, the same breath, the same endless rhythm. And as long as the earth turns, their dance will continue, soft, patient, eternal. As we drift toward the closing of this story, let us look more closely at the quiet wisdom hidden in the partnership of sea and sky. They are not only forces of nature, they are teachers. The ocean teaches us patience. The sky teaches us openness. Together they reveal that strength does not need haste and movement does not need noise. Their dialogue is eternal, yet never rushed. Think of how the sky changes from morning to night. First the pale blue dawn, then the fiery blaze of noon, then the hushed purples of dusk, and finally the velvet dark of midnight. The ocean absorbs each mood and reflects it faithfully like a trusted friend. In this way, the ocean shows us how to listen. It does not resist the sky, it welcomes every change, no matter how sudden or soft. Each reflection is an embrace, a reminder that beauty lies in accepting what comes. The science is there, woven into the poetry. Sunlight strikes the waves, scattering into colors. The angle of the sun creates gold at dawn, silver at noon, crimson at evening. The water bends light, transforms it, and returns it to us as something more tender than before. Yet the truth behind it does not diminish the wonder. It only deepens it, reminding us that nature's laws themselves can be a kind of lullaby. And what of the moon, always circling, always watching? Its silver gaze reaches down to the sea, urging the tides to rise, to bow, to rise again. The ocean responds without hesitation. This is not obedience but connection, a relationship formed over billions of years, steady and enduring. If the moon were to vanish, the tides would falter, the rhythm would dim, and life itself would change. But the moon does not vanish. It remains faithful, steady, whispering across the sky, and the ocean follows with a grace that is both ancient and new each night. This partnership is not silent in its effects. It shapes weather, carves coastlines, nourishes forests. It feeds rivers, fills clouds, grows crops. When the sky carries moisture from the sea, it becomes rain that wakes seeds in the ground. When that rain returns to the ocean, the circle is complete. Without the sea, the sky would be barren. Without the sky, the sea would be lifeless. Together, they create the balance that allows all else to flourish. In every part of the world, you can see evidence of this eternal bond. Along tropical shores, palm trees sway with winds that began as whispers over open water. In colder lands, icebergs gleam under pale skies, sculpted by seasons of air and sea entwined. In deserts, though rain may be scarce, even the smallest cloud carries with it the breath of a distant ocean. And in mountains far from the shore, streams flow with melted snow that once rose as mist from a wave. Everything is touched by their exchange. Human beings, too, are shaped by this. Our myths and songs tell of sea gods and sky deities, lovers separated and reunited, storms as battles, rainbows as promises. Even in our oldest stories, we knew that the sky and the ocean were more than elements. They were characters, voices, presences. We stood on the shore, watching their meeting at the horizon, and saw in it something of ourselves: longing, connection, reflection. Science names the processes. Poetry names the feelings. Both are true and both are needed. Close your eyes now and imagine floating on calm water. The sky stretches above you, unbroken. The sea cradles you from below. You are suspended between them, carried by both. You breathe in and the air tastes of salt, a gift from the sea. You breathe out and your breath joins the sky, rising upward, becoming part of the endless exchange. In that stillness, you realize that you are not separate from this cycle. You are part of it as much as any wave or cloud. The wisdom here is gentle but profound. Everything is connected. The tide that lifts a boat in one harbor is shaped by the moonlight shining on another shore. The rain that falls on a quiet forest once rose from waves half a world away. The breath in your lungs carries the memory of oceans, carried through clouds, rivers, and time. To follow this chain is to see the world as one body, breathing with a rhythm older than thought. As the story closes, let us return once more to the horizon, where sea and sky meet. At dawn it glows softly, as if the world is being written anew. At dusk it fades into gold, as if the day itself is being tucked into sleep. And at night, when stars pierce the dark, the ocean catches them, doubling the heavens, reminding us that the sky is never far. The ocean follows it always, a patient shadow, a tender mirror, a faithful friend. And so the lesson is simple: nothing moves alone. The sky carries the ocean follows the sky. And within their endless dance lies the calm reminder that life too is a rhythm, sometimes rising, sometimes falling, always returning. To rest in this knowledge is to rest in the world itself, secure in its gentle, eternal breath. When you next hear the hush of waves or feel the breeze upon your skin, remember, these are not separate things. They are one conversation, spoken in two voices, heard in your heart as calm, the sky above, the ocean below, and you breathing in between, part of both forever. Salt is the ocean's memory, and silence is its song. To taste the sea is to taste the traces of time itself, dissolved in every droplet. Long before rivers carved their way to the shore, long before creatures swam or walked, the ocean gathered minerals from stone, from earth, from fire. The rains fell, the rivers ran, and each grain of salt carried stories into the sea. What you feel on your lips when a wave splashes is the echo of mountains worn down by ages, the whisper of storms long past. It is the flavor of the earth itself. The ocean holds this salt like a heartbeat. It never disappears, only circulates, carried in tides and currents, folded into waves. Life arose within it, shaped by it, nourished by it. Every creature of the sea carries a trace of salt inside, and every one of us too carries it in our blood. Our veins are reminders of the ocean we came from. In every heartbeat, in every tear, the sea lingers. Silence too belongs to the ocean. Not the absence of sound, for the sea is full of voices, the calls of whales, the clicks of dolphins, the hiss of foam against sand. But beneath it all lies a deeper quiet, a stillness that holds every sound gently, like a mother rocking a child. If you dive beneath the surface and let the water close above you, you hear it, the softened hush of the world, as if time itself is slowed. This is the silence of the sea, not empty but vast. It welcomes sound, swallows it, and carries it far. Whales can call across oceans because silence stretches wide enough to carry their voices. Now imagine standing at the shore, the wind gentle, the waves rolling. The salt touches your skin, the silence drapes around you. You are not outside this rhythm, you are within it. Your body is salt and silence too. The salt in your tears, the silence in your breaths. You are part of the ocean's memory, part of its calm. Science explains how salt arrived, carried by rivers eroding stone, by vents in the ocean floor releasing minerals from the earth's molten heart. The balance is delicate yet steady. Too much salt and life would struggle, too little and life would vanish. The ocean holds just enough and has held it for millions of years, a quiet constancy that allows life to thrive. Fish, plants, plankton all depend on this balance, this quiet gift. And silence too has science behind it. Water carries sound farther than air, stretching it across miles. The sea is alive with signals, yet to us it feels like a hush because its sounds are softened, slowed, wrapped in liquid embrace. Submarines navigate by listening to this silence. Scientists map the ocean floor through its echoes, but the mystery remains. Why does it feel so calm? Perhaps because the silence of the sea is not emptiness but fullness. It holds everything at once, all voices together, so that none feels alone. Salt and silence, these are the two companions of the sea, shaping every wave, every life, every moment. They are opposites and twins, one a taste, sharp and enduring, the other a sound, soft and infinite. Together they create a rhythm that the ocean follows, a pulse that is steady and sure. Picture the tide pools again, little worlds carved into stone. When the tide retreats, salt crystals glitter in the sun, tiny stars left behind. In the quiet of low tide, creatures hide and wait, wrapped in stillness. When the tide returns, the salt dissolves again, the silence breaks into motion and life. Resumes, salt and silence mark the hours like hands on a clock, guiding every small life along its path. Think of how much we owe to this rhythm. Our ancestors followed the salt of the sea to preserve food, to flavor meals, to heal wounds. They listened to the silence of waves to know when storms were coming, when it was safe to sail. Even now we crave salt, not just as taste but as memory, a reminder of our origin. We crave silence too, as rest, as peace, as balance. The ocean gives us both. When the sun sets and the horizon fades, the sea glimmers faintly with light from plankton, tiny sparks against the dark. They shine in silence, scattered like stars across the water. The salt carries them, the silence frames them. You can almost feel the world breathing, slow and deep. In this rhythm, everything belongs. The rhythm of salt and silence is not loud. It does not command. It waits. It continues whether we notice or not. To listen to it is to be reminded of patience. To taste it is to remember where we came from. And to rest in it is to know peace, the peace of a world that has been breathing this way for ages beyond counting. Salt is not just a taste. It is a bridge between life and the world it inhabits. Every creature of the sea, from the smallest plankton to the largest whale, carries the ocean salt within them. Cells depend on it, balancing their fluids, guiding their signals, keeping life steady. Without salt, nerves could not send their sparks, muscles could not move, hearts could not beat. It is both simple and sacred, the hidden thread that binds all living beings to the sea that first gave them form. When you lift a handful of seawater, you hold a story of balance. Dissolved within it are traces of calcium from ancient reefs, magnesium from mountain stone, potassium from volcanic fire. The earth has given pieces of itself to the ocean, and the ocean has dissolved them into one gentle solution that sustains life. This is why our blood is salty, why our sweat tastes of the sea. It is a reminder that we are not strangers to the ocean, but children of it. The same salt that laps at the shore flows through our veins, an ancient inheritance carried forward in every heartbeat. Silence, too, is more than an absence. In the ocean, silence is a field wide and patient across which sound travels. Whales use it as a path, sending songs that cross entire oceans. Their calls, low and resonant, can travel hundreds of miles, stitched together by the quiet strength of the water that carries them. To us it may sound like stillness, but to the whales, silence is the space where connection happens. The sea gives them this gift, holding their voices like soft threads across its vastness. Even smaller creatures use this quiet. Dolphins send clicks and whistles, bouncing them off surfaces, mapping the world with echoes. Fish grunt, crackle, chirp in ways that seem almost impossible to us, yet the water carries their messages faithfully. A reef may seem silent, but place your ear to it with the right instruments and you will hear a constant crackling, the snapping of shrimp, the chatter of fish, the hum of life. The silence of the ocean is not emptiness but fullness, a gentle background against which every sound becomes clearer, a canvas that allows voices to carry far. The rhythm of salt and silence creates more than survival, it creates community. Tides move nutrients, carrying salt-rich waters to estuaries where fish spawn and plants drink deeply. The hush between waves allows life to rest, to listen, to move without fear. Salt sustains the body, silence sustains the soul. Together they guide not only how life exists, but how it connects. For us too, salt and silence hold meaning. Salt was once more valuable than gold. Civilizations rose and fell around its trade. People walked deserts to gather it, sailed seas to carry it. It preserved food, sustained armies, shaped economies. Its worth was not only practical but symbolic, a sign of trust, of covenant, of permanence. Even now, to share salt at a table is to share life, and silence, too, is part of our deepest rituals. We pause in silence to honor, to remember, to feel. We seek it in prayer, in meditation, in the quiet moments when words are not needed. Both salt and silence have always been woven into the fabric of being human, just as they are woven into the fabric of the sea. Imagine walking at low tide, the sand cool beneath your feet. Around you, tide pools shimmer with trapped water, tiny worlds left behind by the retreating ocean. Salt crystals sparkle in the sun like stars, clinging to rock and shell. The silence is different here, not absolute, but softened. You hear gulls in the distance, the gentle pop of bubbles as small crabs scurry, the faint hiss of wind. Yet beneath it all there is stillness, a quiet that feels endless. It wraps around you, asking nothing, offering everything. This is the rhythm the ocean teaches, taste and still. Illness, presence and pause. Science tells us that the salt concentration of the ocean has remained steady for millions of years, even as rivers continue to carry more into it. The balance is maintained through processes like mineral formation at the seafloor, as if the earth itself adjusts to keep the rhythm intact. Too much salt would shift the balance of life, yet the system holds steady, patient, and sure. And silence, too, is threatened. Human noise fills the seas now, ships, drilling, sonar, breaking the stillness, confusing the songs of whales, drowning the crackle of reefs. Yet even in this, the ocean continues to hold space for quiet, waiting, resilient. Its silence is not fragile. It is strong, though it asks us gently to protect it. Salt and silence are not opposites, they are partners. One flavors, one soothes, one sharpens, one softens. Together they create harmony. The sea is sharp on the tongue, soft in the ear, and always balanced in its being. This is why standing by the ocean feels like returning home. We taste its memory, we hear its calm, and within us something settles, something remembers. As evening falls, the air cools and the horizon darkens. The waves grow slower, their hiss fading into a softer murmur. A breeze carries the taste of salt across your lips. The silence deepens, broken only by the rhythmic pulse of water against stone. You feel your breath fall into step with it, in and out, rise and fall. It is not a silence of emptiness, but of belonging. The salt binds you to the earth, the silence binds you to the sky. Together, they remind you that you are part of a rhythm much larger than yourself. This is the rhythm of salt and silence, the flavor of time, the hush of eternity. It holds the ocean, it holds life, it holds you. To feel it is to be reminded of patience, to taste it is to know connection, to rest in it is to return home. The rhythm of salt and silence is as old as the earth itself, and yet it continues to write new verses each day. It is a song that never ends, a pulse that never stops. Every tide, every wave, every drop of seawater carries this rhythm forward, teaching patience, memory, and calm. To step into the ocean is to step into that rhythm. To breathe beside it is to feel it echo within your chest. Think of the countless lives that rise and fall with this pattern. Coral reefs, dazzling with color, depend on salt-rich water carried by tides. Sea turtles return to the shore where silence waits for them, laying their eggs in the quiet hours of night. Whales migrate along ancient routes, singing into the silence, trusting that the water will carry their voices to those who listen. All of life in the sea, from the smallest plankton to the largest leviathan, exists because the ocean holds this delicate balance of taste and hush. The salt itself is constant, yet it is also a traveler. It moves with currents carried across vast distances. It lingers in estuaries where rivers meet the sea, in mangroves that breathe both salt and fresh, in lagoons that glitter with brine. In each place it writes its signature differently. Too much salt and only the hardiest survive brine shrimp, flamingos with pink feathers colored by their diet. Too little and marine life falters. But in balance, salt becomes invisible, forgotten in its constancy, even as it sustains everything. Silence is the same. It is not noticed until it is broken, yet it is always there, shaping the world in quiet ways. Silence holds the space where communication blooms, where songs stretch across miles, where stillness allows rest. Even for us, silence restores what noise erodes. It gives the mind room to wander, the heart room to soften, the soul room to remember its place. The ocean teaches us this with every gentle pause between waves. Now picture yourself walking along a moonlit shore. The water glimmers faintly with silver light and the air is cool, carrying the taste of salt. Around you, the world is hushed. No crowds, no engines, no clocks, only the sea breathing slowly, steadily. You stop to listen and you realize the silence is not empty at all. It is filled with the soft rush of water, the distant call of a bird, the steady rhythm of your own breath. You are held in the same embrace that holds the whales, the coral, the stars reflected in the tide pools at your feet. You are not separate from this rhythm. You are part of it. Science deepens the wonder. Each grain of salt that touches your tongue is older than humanity, dissolved from stone, carried by water, transformed by time. Each pause of silence you hear has stretched across centuries, across miles of ocean, carrying messages you may never know. The laws of chemistry, the physics of sound, these explain how it happens. But the meaning, the feeling, belongs to poetry. It belongs to memory. It belongs to you. And in this rhythm, there is a lesson. Life thrives not only in motion but in pause, not only in noise but in quiet. Not only in sweetness but in salt. The balance is what matters. The ocean offers this wisdom gently, without words, without demand. It is enough to stand beside it, to breathe with it, to listen. The rest unfolds on its own. As dawn approaches, the horizon begins to glow. The first light touches the sea, and the silence changes, not gone, but softened into a new soundscape of waking birds, stirring waves, distant voices. The salt remains constant, lacing the air, reminding you that the sea is near. Together they weave the morning as they have woven every morning before, and as they will weave every morning yet to come. The rhythm of salt and silence will continue long after we are gone. It will carry new lives, shape new shores, dissolve new stones. But for now it carries us, and that is enough. It reminds us that we belong to something endless, something larger than any single life or moment. It whispers that we are not alone, that we are part of a chorus sung across time, written in minerals and stillness. So let this story close as softly as the tide retreating from the sand. Let it leave behind the sparkle of salt, the hush of silence, the gentle impression that you have touched something eternal. When you breathe in, taste the memory of the sea. When you breathe out, listen for its quiet. This is the rhythm that has always been and always will be the rhythm of salt and silence. The moon is more than a pale companion drifting through the night. It is a voice, steady and soft, whispering to the waters of the earth. Though it speaks in silence, its words are written clearly in the movements of tides, in the shifting of waves, in the rhythm of rivers that bend toward the sea. To watch water move beneath the moon is to see a dialogue carried on for billions of years, a secret conversation of gravity and grace. Imagine a still lake beneath the silver light of a full moon. The surface glimmers like polished glass, yet beneath that calm is a listening. Each molecule of water feels the pull of the moon, however slight. The great oceans rise and bow, but even in this quiet pond the same whisper is heard, faint yet real. The moon does not command, it invites, and water, patient and yielding, follows. Science tells us this pull is gravity, the invisible tether that binds all things. The moon's gravity reaches across space, tugging gently at Earth. It pulls at stone, at soil, at air, but most of all at water, for water yields easily. The oceans swell toward the moon, forming a bulge of high tide, while another bulge forms on the far side of the Earth. Between them, the tides fall low, and the sea reveals its hidden edges. Twice each day, this whisper reshapes the shorelines, a reminder of how even distant things can move us. But the whisper is not only physical. It is also poetic, emotional, almost spiritual. For countless generations, people have stood at the water's edge and felt the moon's quiet call. Fishermen trusted it to guide their boats. Farmers watched it to time their crops. Poets wrote of its glow, lovers of its gaze. In each case, the moon's whisper carried meaning far beyond gravity. It carried a reminder of cycles, of patience, of return. Even rivers, though they flow inland, feel the moon's call where they meet the sea. Estuaries breathe with tides, moving forward then back in a slow dance of salt and fresh. Mangroves root themselves in this rhythm, their tangled branches home to crabs and birds who know the moon's voice by instinct. When the moon rises full, the water rises higher, feeding roots, flooding flats, carrying life with it. When the moon wanes, the waters fall, exposing mud and shell, leaving behind the sparkle of salt in the sun. And always there is the whisper. You can almost hear it if you listen in the hush of night by the shore, not in words, but in rhythm. The water moves, retreats, returns. The moon drifts, bright or hidden, but always present. Together they weave a story that belongs not to one night or one life, but to the whole turning of the earth. It is easy to forget in our busy days that the moon is moving us. Yet every tide that rises at our feet, every harbor that fills with water, every marsh that floods and drains is part of this gentle pull. We are not separate from it. Our bodies, filled with water, may feel echoes of it, subtle and unseen. Some say our moods change with the phases of the moon, that our sleep shifts when it grows full. Science searches for answers, but the poetry remains regardless. We are touched by the same gravity that lifts the sea. Now picture the ocean beneath a crescent moon. The tide is quiet, the waves smaller as if resting. Yet the whisper is still there, softer but steady. The moon does not stop speaking simply because its light is less. Its voice is gravity, and gravity does not wane. It continues, constant, faithful, even when hidden from view. The water hears it always, and so do we if we choose to notice.
I'll tell you.
Oh, say the moon whispers to water is both metaphor and truth. It is the poetry of science, the science of poetry. The whisper is real, measurable, charted in tables and predictions. Yet it is also felt in the heart, in the soul, in the quiet awe that comes from seeing the ocean bow to a distant silver orb. The moon whispers and the water listens. And through them, we are reminded of connection, of patience, of the gentle strength that moves the world without force. As night deepens, the whisper continues. The tide will rise again, the water will return, the moon will pass overhead. And as it does, it carries us with it, gently, silently, faithfully, like a voice calling across the dark, like a friend who never leaves. The moon's whisper is not heard in only one way. It comes in many voices, soft and shifting, depending on where you stand and how you listen. Along rocky shores, it arrives in the booming crash of waves, retreating to reveal glistening kelp and tide pools sparkling with trapped light. On sandy beaches, it arrives as a gentler murmur, sliding forward with foam, then slipping back in silence. In sheltered bays, it arrives like a sigh, rising and falling slowly, almost too subtle to notice. But whether loud or hushed, the whisper is the same. The moon calls, the water responds. This response shapes not only the ocean, but the life within it. The rhythm of tides is the oldest clock of the sea. Creatures live by it, breathe by it, build their lives around it. Tiny crabs scuttle from burrow to wave in time with the moon. Oysters open and close with its cycle, filtering water only when the tide returns. Fish swim inland with the flood and retreat with the ebb, following paths drawn by gravity itself. For them, the moon's whisper is not poetry but necessity. It tells them when to feed, when to hide, when to move. And still, even in its necessity, it carries beauty. In mangrove forests, the moon's pull floods roots with salt water twice each day. The trees, shaped by this rhythm, grow strong in brackish silence, their branches offering shelter to birds and their tangled roots to shrimp and fish. In tidal marshes, the whisper brings water in with nutrients and carries it out with waste, cleansing and feeding the ecosystem. The moon, so far above, becomes part of these daily acts of survival, as though it leans down to stir the world with a patient hand. There are moments when the moon's whisper grows louder, when the tides are strongest. These spring tides arrive when the sun and moon align, pulling together in harmony. The water rises higher, falls lower, stretching its voice across the shore. Fishermen have long known these days, waiting for the spring tides to bring fish close to land. Farmers have noticed, too, planting by the moon, trusting that the same pull that moves water also moves the hidden rhythms of life on land. Whether in science or in tradition, the whisper is heard and trusted. And then there are the quieter days, the neap tides, when the sun and moon pull at angles. The water moves less as though resting. Creatures adapt to this too. Some venture farther, others pause. The whisper is still there, but softer, a reminder that even nature has moments of gentle restraint. The sea does not always need to rise high or fall deep. Sometimes it is enough to breathe shallowly, to rest between stronger movements. The moon's whisper shapes not only creatures and coasts, but people too. Ancient civilizations measured time by tides, carving marks into stone to track the moon's pull. Sailors navigated by its light, trusting its gravity to guide them through harbors. Priests and storytellers wove its rhythm into myths, seeing in its phases a symbol of life cycles: birth, growth, decline, renewal. Even today, when satellites and computers predict the tides, many still glance at the moon and feel something older than calculation. A whisper that speaks not in numbers but in presence. Consider the Bay of Fundy, where tides rise taller than houses. Twice each day, the ocean rushes in and out, sculpting cliffs, reshaping beaches, roaring like an answer to the moon's quiet voice. Or the Maldives, where gentle tides bring nourishment to coral reefs, keeping them alive. In each place, the whisper is the same, but the reply is different. The ocean answers uniquely, depending on its shape, its depth, its history. It is as though the sea is a vast choir, each coastline singing its part, but all listening to the same conductor in the sky. The whisper carries into the deep ocean as well, where tides move water in vast currents, stirring nutrients upward, feeding life in the sunlit layers above. Even there, miles beneath the surface, the moon's pull is felt. It mixes waters, carries heat, shapes climates. Its quiet voice touches storms, shaping the strength of hurricanes, the swell of monsoons. Though it whispers softly, its reach is immense, extending from the smallest tide pool to the breath of the atmosphere itself. And what of us? We are mostly water. The salt within us, the blood that moves through our veins, echoes the ocean. Some say the moon's phases affect our moods, our sleep, our dreams. Science debates this, searching for proof, but perhaps proof is not needed for wonder. To feel a certain restlessness on a full moon night, to dream differently when the moon is new, these are whispers, too subtle and personal, yet connected to the same gravity that pulls the seas. At times, the whisper feels like a lullaby. The waves slide over sand, the foam hisses, the air carries salt. You feel your breath matching its rhythm, slow and even. The moon hangs above, watching. Nothing is rushed, nothing demanded. The whisper carries no command, only invitation. an invitation to rest, to listen, to belong. This is how the moon whispers to water, in cycles, in rhythms, in patience. Not through sudden force, but through steady presence. The sea listens, life listens. And if you pause long enough, you may hear it too, a voice without words, a sound without sound, telling you that all things are connected by forces both gentle and sure. The moon's whisper to water is not a fleeting moment, but an eternal rhythm carried across ages. Long before humans stood on shores to watch tides rise and fall, the whisper was already there. It was present when the first single-celled creatures drifted in ancient seas. It guided their movements, taught them the rhythm of light and dark, of fullness and emptiness. Life was born listening to the moon, and in many ways we never stopped. As we look back through history, the bond between moon and water appears again and again. Ancient navigators learned to read the tides, to know when a harbor would be deep enough for their vessels or when shallow water would bar their path. Farmers far inland looked to the moon's phases, believing its pull on water extended into the sap of plants, into the growth of seeds. And perhaps they were not entirely wrong, for rhythms are rarely confined. What touches one part of the world touches all, in ways seen and unseen. The moon's whisper to water became, in time, a whisper to life itself. Science tells us the tides are caused by gravity, by predictable equations and orbital mechanics. But equations do not erase wonder. If anything, they deepen it. To know that a silver orb nearly 400,000 kilometers away can lift entire oceans, that it can guide the movement of whales and the spawning of fish, that it can shape coastlines and fuel storms, this is not less magical because it is true. It is more. The truth itself is the wonder, quiet, steady, eternal. And as the moon pulls the waters of Earth, the waters pull the moon as well. This, too, is part of the story. The tides tug back, slowing the Earth's rotation ever so slightly, nudging the moon farther away each year. The whisper is mutual, a conversation that changes both voices. One day in the far future, the moon will drift so far that tides will be gentler than they are now. The ocean will still listen, but the voice will be softer, like a memory fading into the distance. Even then, the whisper will not vanish. It will remain just quieter, more patient, as time carries both bodies along. For now, the whisper is strong. It shapes estuaries, feeds marshes, floods mangroves, and opens tidal flats. It times the migrations of fish, the nesting of turtles, the blooms of plankton. It has become the planet's pulse, measured not in seconds but in tides. Twice each day across every shore the sea bows to the moon. Twice each day it retreats. This is the simplest proof of connection. Distance does not weaken bonds. Even across space, the moon reaches us, and the Earth answers. Perhaps this is why we are so drawn to the sea at night. To stand under a moonlit sky, hearing the waves rise and fall, is to witness this conversation unfolding. We may not speak its language, but we understand its meaning. It tells us that cycles are part of life, that every rise is followed by a fall, and every fall by a return. That absence is not the end, but part of the rhythm. It tells us to trust the tide, to rest in the certainty of return. The whisper is also within us. Our hearts beat with rhythm, our breath flows in tides. Even our sleep, shifting with lunar phases, hints at the same connection. The moon moves water, and we are water. It is no surprise, then, that we feel it in our moods, in our dreams, in our longing when we gaze upward at night. The whisper is not only to the oceans, it is to us. Now imagine a night when the moon is full. The waves rise high and the beaches gleam with silver light. Crabs emerge from sand, guided by lunar timing. Coral reefs release clouds of eggs and sperm into the water all at once, as though listening to a secret signal. The sea is alive, answering the moon's call. And you standing on the shore feel it too, the pull, the hush, the sense that you are part of something. Vast and ancient. The whisper is not only to water, but to every being that listens. And then imagine another night when the moon is new, hidden in darkness. The tides still rise, the water still listens. The whisper has not gone. It does not depend on light, but on presence, unseen yet constant. This is the truest kind of whisper, one that does not need to be visible to be real. The water feels it always, and so do we if we allow ourselves to notice. As dawn comes, the moon sets quietly beyond the horizon. The tide begins its retreat, leaving the sand damp and shining. Shells glimmer where the water has passed, each a small reminder of the rhythm that continues without pause. The ocean is never truly still, never truly silent. It is always listening, always answering, always breathing in time with the moon. So let this story close with that image. The moon above, the water below, bound together by an invisible thread of gravity and grace. The moon whispers and the water moves. The water replies and the moon drifts farther. Both are changed, both are connected, both are eternal in their conversation. And you too are part of it, as surely as the waves, as surely as the tides. For when the moon whispers to water, it whispers to all of us, reminding us that distance is not silence, that connection is stronger than space, and that even the quietest voice can move worlds. Gravity is often described as force, as pull, as the invisible thread that binds the cosmos together, but it is also intimacy. It is the quiet assurance that nothing drifts entirely alone, that every planet, every star, every drop of water, every person is connected. Gravity is not a shout, it is a whisper. It holds without grasping. It steadies without restraint. To understand gravity is to understand belonging. Begin by imagining yourself standing on the earth. You do not feel it, yet gravity is beneath every step, holding you close to the ground. It is in the fall of an apple, in the path of a river, in the arc of a bird's flight. Without it, nothing would remain. The oceans would fly away, the air would dissolve, even your body would scatter into silence. Gravity is not only the law that binds, it is the comfort that keeps. The moon feels this comfort too. It circles the earth not because it is tethered by ropes, but because it is held by gravity, by affection across distance. The earth holds the moon and the moon holds the earth. Their pull is mutual, balanced, eternal. You see the effects each day in the tides, in the rise and fall of seas. The ocean listens to both bodies, drawn first one way then another. Even in this simple rhythm, gravity writes poetry, the gravity between us and the moon expressed in waves that kiss the shore. But gravity does not stop at Earth and moon, it stretches farther. The Earth too orbits the sun, held in its embrace. The sun itself is pulled by the Milky Way, a spiral of stars bound together, and the Milky Way too is bound to other galaxies, swirling in a vast cosmic dance. Gravity is the music of this dance. Without it, stars would scatter, galaxies would vanish, planets would drift into cold night. With it, the universe is not chaos but harmony, not silence but rhythm. Think of how stars are born. Gas clouds, immense and cold, drift through space. Gravity gathers them, pulling atoms together. Slowly, softly, they draw closer until the pressure sparks fusion and a star ignites. Every sunrise, every beam of light that touches your skin began this way, with gravity pulling atoms into intimacy until they burn together. Every star is a poem written in gravity's hand. Even you carry gravity. Your body, small compared to the earth, still exerts a pull on everything around you. You are not only pulled but pulling. You do not notice it, but it is real. Two people standing near each other are drawn closer by an invisible thread. The effect is tiny, immeasurable without instruments, but it is there. This too is the gravity between us. It reminds us that nothing, however small, is separate. Connection is written into the fabric of existence. Consider how life itself depends on this. Without gravity, Earth would not hold its atmosphere, and without air, no breath would rise. Without gravity, oceans would not cling to Earth, and without water, no heart would beat. Without gravity, planets would not circle stars, and without stars, no warmth, no light, no life. Every leaf, every bird, every thought is made possible by this invisible embrace. Gravity is not only science, it is the condition of love itself, quiet, steadfast, unseen, and eternal. Now imagine floating in space far from Earth. At first you might think you are free of gravity, drifting without anchor. Yet you are still held, still part of orbits upon orbits. Earth pulls at you, the sun pulls at Earth, the galaxy pulls at the sun. You are never without gravity, never without connection. Even in the deepest void, the thread less unbroken. This is why astronauts, looking back at Earth, speak of a profound sense of unity. They see not borders, not divisions, but one small, fragile sphere held in place by gravity, turning in silence. They see how thin the atmosphere is, how gentle the balance. They see the truth, that we are all held by the same embrace, that the gravity between us is not metaphor but fact. And yet gravity is also metaphor. It describes the pull between people, the draw of love, the weight of memory. We speak of being drawn to someone, of feeling the gravity of a moment. These are not accidents of language. They are reflections of the truth that the same force shaping galaxies also shapes our hearts. Attraction, connection, intimacy, all echo gravity's law. Nothing is truly separate. Everything pulls toward everything else. As night falls and the stars emerge, you feel it again. You stand on the shore, the waves rising at your feet, the moon above, the stars scattered beyond. The same gravity that moves the tide holds your body to the sand, your breath in your lungs, your gaze toward the sky. You are not apart from this vastness. You are within it. You are part of the gravity between us, between earth and moon, between sun and planet, between all things and all beings. To know this is not only to know science, but to know belonging. It is to feel the universe not as emptiness, but as embrace. Gravity is the thread that runs through it all, and in its pull there is comfort, there is connection, there is peace. Let us drift deeper now into the quiet mystery of gravity and its reach across the universe. Though unseen, it is everywhere, shaping the smallest pebble on the ground and the largest galaxy cluster in the cosmos. Its voice is not loud, yet its power is endless. It bends the path of light, curves the fabric of space, and holds the Earth steady as it spins through infinity. The gravity between us is not only a fact of physics, it is the foundation of every moment we know. Consider the planets circling the Sun. Each one, from Mercury racing close to Neptune drifting far, is held in orbit by gravity's pull. They move not in straight lines but in gentle ellipses, forever curved by the Sun's embrace. Our Earth belongs to this dance, moving at just the right distance for seas to flow and forests to breathe. A little closer and life would burn. A little farther and life would freeze. Gravity holds us in balance, neither too near nor too far, as if the universe itself knew the language of tenderness. And beyond our sun, stars themselves are held by gravity in vast galaxies. The Milky Way, the spiral that carries our solar system, is bound by this invisible thread. Its arms of stars swirl not because of chance, but because gravity gathers and steadies them. Dark matter, unseen yet suspected, adds to this hold, shaping the galaxy's form, keeping it whole. In this way, gravity becomes both presence and mystery, known in its effects, hidden in its essence. It is a reminder that the most powerful bonds are often the ones we cannot see. Look closer, too, at the human scale. Gravity shapes rivers, pulling them downhill until they meet the sea. It holds mountains steady, even as wind and water carve them slowly. It pulls raindrops to the ground, carrying nourishment to roots. It draws air into your lungs, carries your steps toward the earth. Without it, nothing would remain familiar. With it, every moment is steadied, every breath secure. The gravity between us and the world is constant, quiet, unfailing. Life has adapted beautifully to this embrace. Plants stretch upward against gravity, their roots anchoring them to soil. Trees grow tall only because their trunks and fibers resist its pull, holding themselves high. Animals move with bones and muscles shaped to bear its weight, each step a conversation between body and earth. Even our sense of balance, the way we walk, the way we know up from down, depends on gravity's guidance. To live is to live within its embrace, always listening, always adjusting. Now imagine the moon again, circling overhead. Its pull on Earth creates tides, yes, but it also stabilizes our planet's tilt. Without the moon's gravity, Earth would wobble chaotically and seasons would swing wildly. With the moon, our climate remains steady, our winters and summers balanced. Gravity does not only hold, it also guides, smooths, and protects. It is both anchor and guardian, weaving order from what could have been chaos. And yet gravity is not only vast, it is intimate. When you sit beside someone, your bodies exert a tiny pull on each other, invisible yet real. You may not notice it, but the force exists, an invisible thread joining you. When you look into someone's eyes, when you feel drawn to their presence, you might call it affection, attraction, or love. But beneath the metaphor is truth. All matter pulls on all matter. Connection is not only feeling, it is fact. The universe itself is written in bonds. Perhaps this is why gravity speaks so deeply to us. We feel its metaphor in our hearts because its reality is in our lives. When we speak of the gravity of a moment, we mean its weight, its importance, its undeniable presence. When we say we are drawn to someone, we mean pulled as Earth pulls moon, as sun pulls planets. Our language remembers what our souls already know. Gravity is not just outside us, it is within us, between us always. Even light is not free from gravity. Though it has no mass, its path curves around stars and black holes, bending space itself. This is called gravitational lensing, the bending of light by invisible pull. Through it, we glimpse galaxies far beyond reach, magnified by gravity's lens. In this way, gravity becomes both veil and window, hiding and revealing the cosmos. It is as if the universe uses gravity to remind us that there is always more to see, always more beyond the horizon. Now think of black holes, those most mysterious children of gravity. They are formed when stars collapse, their mass pressed into such density that nothing, not even light, can escape. Around them, space curves infinitely and time itself slows. Yet even these extremes are part of the same gentle law that holds you to the ground, that pulls the tide toward the moon. Gravity is both ordinary and extraordinary, tender and terrifying, humble and immense. It is the quietest of forces and the strongest of all. As night deepens, you look upward. The stars shine, scattered across the velvet sky. Each one burns because gravity once gathered its atoms together. Each one remains because gravity holds it steady. The light you see has traveled for years, for centuries, yet its path was curved by gravity along the way. You are watching not just stars, but the trace of gravity's touch upon light itself. You are watching connection written in space. And as you lower your gaze to Earth, you feel it again, the ground steady beneath you, the weight of your own body, the breath rising and falling in rhythm. All of it is gravity's gift. All of it is the proof of the thread that binds you to everything else. The gravity between us is not theory. It is truth, constant as your own heartbeat, wide as the universe itself. It is the reason stars shine, the reason seas remain, the reason you are here at all. Gravity is often described as a force, but perhaps it is more honest to call it a relationship. It is not something that strikes suddenly or fades quickly. It is constant, patient, always present. It is the reason we wake on the Earth each morning rather than drifting into space, the reason the moon continues its faithful orbit, the reason the seas rise and fall in their eternal rhythm. Gravity is not merely the law of nature. It is the poetry of connection, the invisible hand that reminds us that nothing stands apart. Imagine the Earth without gravity's embrace. Oceans would lift into mist, drifting into the void. Air would vanish into silence. The moon would wander away, no longer tethered to its companion. The sun's warmth would shine on barren rock, unable to spark growth. There would be no rivers, no mountains, no forests, no footsteps on the shore. Without gravity, the world would be a scattering of fragments. With gravity, the fragments belong, arranged in harmony, moving together through time. It is not only that gravity holds us down, it holds us together. Consider the tenderness of this truth. Gravity works quietly, never rushing, never breaking, always adjusting. It allows planets to orbit, stars to ignite, galaxies to swirl. It lets raindrops fall into rivers, rivers into seas, seas into tides. Every step you take is measured against it. Every breath you draw is steadied by it. And though you cannot see it, you trust it with every moment of your life. Gravity is the most loyal of companions, unseen yet unfailing. The gravity between us and the moon has shaped our story in countless ways. It steadies Earth's tilt, softening our seasons, making climates gentle enough for life to flourish. It pulls at the tides, stirring nutrients, feeding reefs, guiding migrations. It has inspired myths, guided calendars, shaped rituals. Even the rhythm of our sleep may still echo its pull. The moon whispers, the earth answers, and in this dialogue gravity writes its poetry, slow, steady, eternal. And still, gravity stretches farther. It reaches into galaxies where stars cluster like glowing seeds. It weaves threads between them, binding them into spirals, holding them in clusters. It shapes the universe not into chaos, but into form. Even the empty spaces, the vast distances, are filled with its presence. There is no corner untouched. Every atom, every star, every person is part of its embrace. To exist is to belong to gravity. But gravity is not only in stars and planets, it is in us. Our bodies are small, yet each exerts a pull on the world around it. It may be faint, but it is real. We are not only held, we are holders. Each of us tugs softly at the people beside us, at the earth beneath us, at the sky above us. This truth carries a quiet kind of comfort. You matter not only because of what you do, but because of what you are. Simply by existing, you are part of the fabric of attraction. The gravity between us is not metaphor, it is fact. And yet metaphor is fitting. We speak of the gravity of love, of the weight of memory, of being pulled to another soul. We feel the seriousness of moments, the importance of choices, the magnetism of affection. These are reflections of the same truth the cosmos knows. Connection is inevitable, belonging is real. Just as the earth holds the moon, we hold one another, sometimes near, sometimes far, but always within reach. The universe teaches this not in words, but in movement. And our language echoes it because our hearts recognize it. Now imagine the farthest stars. Their light bends as it travels, curving along the fabric of space shaped by gravity. To our eyes, it arrives as starlight, steady and true. But within that light is the memory of every bend, every pull, every thread that shaped its path. The light you see is not only light, it is a story of connection, of attraction, of journeys guided by unseen hands. Gravity carried it to you, across distances vast beyond imagining. And so when you look upward, you are not only seeing stars, you are seeing the gravity between us stretched across time. Think also of black holes, where gravity gathers so strongly that nothing escapes. They are mysteries, reminders that even the quietest force can grow into something beyond comprehension. Yet even here there is beauty. Around black holes, light curves into arcs, matter spirals into brilliance before disappearing. The extremes of gravity reveal the extremes of connection, that it can be overwhelming, consuming, yet still part of the same gentle law that keeps your feet on the ground. From the smallest tug to the strongest collapse, it is one continuous truth. As you breathe now, feel the steadiness beneath you. Gravity holds you, the earth carries you, the moon turns with you, the sun guides you, the stars surround you. You are not drifting alone in emptiness. You are woven into a vast embrace, part of an endless chorus of motion and belonging. The gravity between us is not something you need to reach for. It is already there, always there, carrying you quietly through the universe. And so let this story close as softly as it began. Gravity is the silence that steadies, the whisper that guides, the embrace that endures. It is the reason the oceans rise, the reason the stars shine, the reason hearts are drawn to one another. It is the truth written into every breath, every tide, every orbit. It is the reminder that nothing, no matter how distant, is ever truly apart. The gravity between us is eternal, and in its embrace we find both science and solace, both connection and peace.